Hey everyone, it's Brandon here with Front Page Pop, giving you all the latest in celebrity news and reality TV. We're here today to talk about the Met Gala 2024, red carpet, and everything else that went on. And I'm here today talking with fashion influencer and style critic Zebran Kabani. Hi, Zebran.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Awesome, we're so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
All right, well, let's get into it. We have tons to talk about for sure.
We definitely do.
All right, so before we jump in, just kind of a recap on the theme. The theme was The Garden of Time, which was inspired by a short story of the same name by J.G. Ballard. And a lot of stars took it literally. We'll kind of talk about trends and things in a minute. A lot of stars took it literally and took inspiration from garden themes like flowers, petals, branches, while others were kind of playing around with the short story's themes of time and history. So, what were some of your favorite themes that you saw on the red carpet?
I definitely feel like this was the first Met Gala in a very long time that people really understood the assignment, so to speak. I really felt like people understood and they really brought it with the Sleeping Beauty reference or two, and kind of what the Metropolitan Museum did. I thought a lot of celebrities that attended really did really well. We saw a lot of floral, a lot of, that
Yeah.
spring, which that was great on theme, especially with where we are, because it is the first month, the first Monday of May. I thought there was a lot of that floral and a lot of the spring and a lot of just that like whimsical, kind of all that put together was really broad. And I was very, very happy with how a lot of these celebrities looked, really.
Yeah, I was pretty happy overall too. There were definitely a lot of florals, obviously, with the garden reference. I will admit I was personally even like confused when I was started seeing some looks come down the carpet that were referencing more of like the time aspect of it. Because for me, I was thinking like garden florals. So once I kind of read, like looked it up and read deeper into the theme, and understood it, I was like, oh wow, there's so many different ways to take this, and a lot of people are on theme. So it was pretty
Absolutely.
cool.
Even though we saw so much black on the carpet, and I know we'll jump into that later, but there was a lot of black, and so
Yeah.
it was really interesting to see everyone's kind of take on the kind of on the Met. So
Yeah. When we chat about various looks, specific looks, we can get into this a little bit more. But I feel like one trend I saw was, I don't even know the term for it, but it was like that wet hair
mhm.
look with like the kind of wet, messy bangs.
Lot,
Kind of
yeah.
gothic.
I was talking to someone today, and I was like, everything was very wet on the carpet, is what I felt like.
Yeah.
With and I understand the reference back to the theme, but everything was very wet, so to speak.
Yeah, it was not my favorite when it
Yeah.
came to a lot of the hairstyles, but so one thing before we get into all the looks and talk about who was there and what went on, one thing I want to talk about is who wasn't there. And you and I kind of chatted briefly about this beforehand, but I want to chat about who you wish was there that wasn't.
Definitely. I'm a big Swiftie, so I'm going to start off by saying that I wish Taylor Swift was there. I understand why she wasn't there because I know she has her tours back starting later this weekend, back in Paris. I really wish she was there, especially with Travis Kelsey. I think it would have been great. She has gone before, so I thought it would have been great. I know we were kind of chatting earlier about how, like, where were the men? I felt like we were missing a
Hmm.
lot of people. Where were the men? It was definitely star studded, but I also felt like we were missing a lot of our favorites, so to speak.
Yeah, I know for sure. For me, I was missing Timothy Chalamet.
Hmm.
Very confused because he usually does amazing on the red carpet and never misses it, so he must have had some conflict with the
Definitely.
event.
I really
And
thought he was going to show up with Kylie. I really thought they were going to make their big, reveal, and I thought they were both going to come together or at least be there
Mhm.
together. Yeah.
But we also missed Rihanna, who apparently got a really bad flu. and that's why she wasn't in attendance. So definitely missed out on that outfit.
I heard and I read that she was, ready to go and she had, a look picked out and she was ready, but she got sick and so that's why she wasn't there.
Yeah. And then I think another one people were highly anticipating was Katy Perry. And funny enough, an AI image of her on the red carpet or green
Mhm.
carpet, I guess, was circulating around Twitter, and everyone was like, thought it was real. I was like, oh my gosh, best dress. She looks amazing. And I even posted it on my page because I did not realize that it was AI. And then later on, I was like, oh crap. And then come to find out, she had posted on her social media that she wasn't there because she was in the studio.
Yeah, and it was funny. I don't know if you saw this, but on TikTok this morning, I saw how that photo that they generated from AI was all over, and even her mom bought it. And her mom was like, "Wait, I didn't know you were going
Oh,
to the
wow, that's
Met. You
funny.
look great." So even her mom was on it, so I thought it was funny.
Oh, yeah, that's hilarious. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh. So let's get into some of the people who were there and all of the great looks and not so great looks. So first, I want to talk about Zendaya. So she was a co-chair of this year's event, along with J-Lo, Chris Hemsworth, and Bad Bunny.
Yes.
So she surprised everyone and came out in a second look later on. But first, she wore a 1999 Dior gown, and then later she came out in a 1996 Givenchy gown. So curious about your thoughts on that.
I am going to say something very controversial, and I will probably get a lot of hate for this, but I am not a big Zendaya fan. I don't get. I think she's gorgeous, and I think she always looks great on the carpet. I just am not a big. I don't get the hype behind her. I'm kind of confused on like why she got there so early and then left and then came back around for a second look.
Mhm.
But I thought she looked great. I liked her second outfit better than the first one. I had also read that she had real roses kind of tucked in all different colors. So I thought that was very cool. So the second look was my favorite out of the two that she wore. What were your thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, I actually like the first one better. I
Yeah.
thought it was just like head to toe just amazing and like really went there. I think the shape was amazing, the colors, like how she posed in it, the eye makeup I loved, the hair, just like I thought everything about it was amazing. Whereas the second look I did love, and I love the bouquet that she had on
Mm,
her like as a headpiece. I thought that was really creative.
yeah.
But I thought like the bottom half, second half of the gown was just like a little too much of a like plain gown, like a lot of
Right.
fabric. So
Hmm.
that's just why I didn't like that one as much, but I still like the look overall.
Hmm. For sure.
But she's definitely one of my best dress of the night for sure.
Okay. Off the bat, Zendaya, one of your
Early
favorite.
contender.
Yeah. Hmm.
Next, we have Nicki Minaj in a Marni mini dress. She wore yellow, lots of flowers. I actually read this morning, and I couldn't tell from the carpet in the photos until they were zoomed in, but I actually read the flower details and applique that were on there were like recycled aluminum. So
Hmm.
that kind of goes with the theme a little bit more, like timelessness, history, things like that. So I thought that was a pretty cool detail.
I thought she looked great. I
Mhm.
think this is by far one of my favorite Met looks by her. She typically plays it really safe, in my opinion, and I thought this time around she really understood the theme, and I really felt like I was having a lot of fun, and you could tell she felt confident. So I loved it on her. I loved all the color.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of those like avant-garde, like campy type pieces she used to wear earlier in her career. So
Yes.
I kind of appreciated that.
Hmm.
And I did like the look. I hated her hair. I did
Yeah.
not like how her hair looked, but I didn't think it like distracted totally from the look.
Absolutely. I also liked that she wore Marnie just because I don't think she's ever worked with them before, which I
Mhm.
think is kind of surprising because she really tests like her style and her outfits and her look. So I'm really happy that they got to work together and I hope they get to work together in the future.
Yeah, for sure. If it's like the start of a, new partnership or collaboration or anything like that, it'll be super interesting to
Yeah,
see.
for sure.
So moving on to our first couple, that I want to talk about is Sabrina Carpenter and Barry Keoghan. So they were both wearing Oscar de la Renta. Hers is said to be, kind of inspired by an orchid, by like with the shapes and the colors. I personally did not like either of their looks at all, though
Yep.
I did appreciate the fact that, he didn't just wear like a boring suit like some people, but overall I just thought it was very blah. What did you
Yeah.
think?
I thought she looked pretty for her first
Mhm.
Met. I think it definitely, I don't know. I love Sabrina Carpenter. I just never know how old she is because she looks young in the face, but then she looks older in like a lot of her outfits that she chooses to wear. So it's kind of
Mhm.
confusing. I thought it was fine for her first Met. He, on the other hand, really bothers me. Like, what was going on with the outfit and like how many like where was the tailor? What was I felt like it was too much, and I was really
Mhm.
just because I really feel like he like really plays with his um like with his style. So I thought it was really interesting that he chose that for the Met.
Yeah, and I was a little disappointed because like you said, it was her first Met. A lot of people do tend to play it safe for their first one. I think that's kind of a theme that we often see,
Right.
but I feel like it's really been her year, like if not her last like 6 months with her new song come that came out, Espresso, that's like taking over the charts and becoming,
Which I love. I do love that song,
yeah.
not gonna lie.
Oh, me too. I have it on repeat. Um, so I feel like it was really a big moment for her, and they could have knocked it out of the park a little bit more than they did
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, I thought I know they arrived separately, and they kind of were together throughout the whole night. And I wish they almost not match, but I wish they were a little bit more cohesive together. I think it would have
Hmm.
made it more, great for the carpet.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. So next, I want to talk about J Lo and Schiaparelli. I think that's how you say that. This is kind of an interesting one. There were tons of mixed reviews all over social media. I'll start by saying I absolutely loved it. I know we have seen this look from her. I saw some graphic on social media, and there were like 10 other looks that were very similar that she did. Kind of like the nude or clear underneath with, the diamond studded dress. But I think she just looked awesome and really fresh, and the shape of it and some of like the detail was amazing. What did you think?
I loved it. She was one of
Mm.
my best dressed. I know she typically kind of goes with same silhouettes with a lot of her style and
Hmm.
a lot of the dresses for red carpets, but I thought she looked great. Let's not forget that this woman is in her 50s.
Yeah.
And the fact that I feel like she nailed it out of the park and very on theme. And I thought she looked great. One of my favorites by far for
Yeah.
this Met Gala.
And I feel like she's taken enough risks in silhouettes and things and fashion choices throughout her career that she almost can kind of like wear what she knows will work now versus
Mhm.
some other people that we'll get to who kind of wear the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
but yeah, I liked it a lot.
I did too. She looked gorgeous, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So next, another controversial one on social media was Cardi B, and she was wearing Chinese designer Windowson. What are your thoughts about that one?
I I thought she looked pretty. Her
Hmm.
hair, I mean, her makeup looked great. I just wish it was not black. I wish it was a different color. I almost wish it was like a red or a yellow or an orange, like a little bit more spring. I thought it would have really made a big statement. Not that it doesn't make a big statement because it is like that train is ginormous. But a few years ago when Rihanna kind of did that yellow colored outfit and it made like a big pop on the carpet, I just really wish she did a different color overall. But I think she looks great. It's very Cardi B.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. It wasn't my favorite. I didn't think it was wow enough. The only wow factor really was the volume and
Mhm.
amount of fabric and like how long the train was. And, maybe this is a hot take, but I feel like a lot of people, at least who aren't in, the industry or don't follow it super closely, they see a big gown and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's what you're supposed to wear to the Met. It looks so good." Um, you know, just like that kind of reaction just because it's a big gown.
Hmm.
And I feel like I saw a lot of that, and there people were like, "Oh, this is what you're supposed to wear to the Met," and I thought it was like the gown, other than being, voluminous, I thought it was very boring. Like it didn't have a lot to it, and it actually reminded me of a longer version of one of Ariana Grande's. I think it was a Grammys dress, like
Yes, I know
the
exactly what you're
gray
talking about.
one.
Yeah,
hmm
exactly.
And, that's my favorite look from Ariana Grande. So, like, it's imprinted in my brain. And that's
Mm,
kind of what I thought of when I saw this black version on Cardi B. And it just looked like they added a bunch more fabric to it.
yeah, for sure.
So, I didn't hate it, but I definitely think it was overhyped by
Yeah,
people.
and she also was staying at the Mark Hotel, and the Mark Hotel is where a lot of the celebrities get ready and stay there. She had a lot of people, like a lot of umbrellas, and her team kind of covering her
I
while
did
she
see
got
that.
in the
Yeah.
car, yeah, which made me more excited because I was like, okay, I was like, she's gonna really bring it, and so it was a little disappointing when she walked the carpet.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Like, I do feel like many of her Met looks have been overhyped, in my opinion.
Mm.
But, to each their own, I guess.
Yeah.
So next we have Kendall Jenner in Givenchy. Fun note, she was the very first person, human, ever to wear this dress. It had just basically been created to sit on this mannequin as like display, as art, and she was the very first person to wear this. What were your thoughts on that?
Second best dress after J Lo. She looked so good. That makeup, that dress. This dress was made for Kendall Jenner. No one
Mhm.
else could have pulled it off better than her. She is, in my opinion, the Met Gala in a lot of ways. She really brings it. She really, yes, she's a supermodel, but she really brings it. And it was by far, one of my favorite looks of hers. Givenchy is one of my favorite brands. And so I felt like she really looked great in it. I loved it.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely liked it a lot too. I mean, everything looks amazing on her. Like you said, she's a supermodel.
Yeah.
Literally, like perfect proportions, perfect body, everything to be a supermodel. I was curious how it related to the theme. A lot of people seem to think that it played into the kind of timelessness and history piece since she was like the first person to wear it and it had kind of been like an archival piece that had just sat on a mannequin. Um, Curious if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, I felt like she looked like a garden goddess, so to speak.
Mm.
I feel like there's if I imagined a time, like if you were going to like like a like a different world and there was a garden, I feel like she would greet you, so to speak. And I
Yeah.
really felt like that, like that's what she would wear. So I thought it was very, on theme. So I thought it looked great on her.
Okay. Cool. I like that interpretation. I'm curious too with that look, what you thought about her hair. There were a lot of kind of mixed reactions on social media. Obviously, everyone thought she looked amazing, but there were kind of some mixed reactions about her hair. It was just kind of like clipped back on the sides and then kind of like
Yeah,
dangled
I
in the back.
I know she works with Jen Atkin a lot, who does The Way, which I love. And I thought her hair was interesting. I felt like I liked the length of her hair. I just didn't like the color of her hair.
Mm.
If that makes sense. I felt like
Yeah.
it didn't. I felt like you could tell that they were extensions. And it, like you said, I felt like it was kind of they were just clipped in, and
hmm
I think it needed to maybe like blend in a little bit better. It almost looked like her hair was going to be different, and then she decided last minute that she wanted it to just be like long, and I think
Yeah.
that's what they did. Um, but I don't love it, but I don't hate it either.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense. Yeah,
yeah,
I agree. It definitely looks like they kind of planned to do something else, but then just said screw it and just
yeah,
let it down.
mhm, yeah,
Um, though I did kind of appreciate the fact how I didn't like her hairstyle. Like to be frank, with this dress, though I don't think it like necessarily took away or distracted from the look at all. But I did appreciate how in the back, like I saw kind of like a back shot or a video of her like turning around and it kind of like swooped with the fringe as she turned around. So I thought that was kind of a nice note. It kind of like complemented the fringe aspect of it on the shoulders.
Yeah, no, definitely. I thought it was really interesting that she did keep her hair long because last year, I don't know if you remember, but when she did the no eyebrows, her hair was red and it
Hmm.
was long. So I thought
Yeah.
it was really interesting that she left it this kind of almost the same length, really, like last year. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
So moving on to her sister, Kylie Jenner, who was in Oscar de la Renta. What were your thoughts on this? Another one that stir up some thoughts on social media.
Yeah. I thought she looked pretty. And I think that's all I really have to say about that.
Yeah.
I thought she looked pretty. I think it's a little too grown up for her, in my opinion. I know her
Hmm.
mom always wears Oscar de la Renta. I know she's like friends with them for many years. And so I thought it was interesting that she wore the same designer. Um, it was okay. It was pretty.
Yeah, I didn't see really what it had to do with the theme, for one.
Hmm.
Two, it was just boring and, like you said, pretty. Her hair was just kind of pulled back. It was
Yeah.
very last minute, like
Yeah.
an off the rack or out of the archive piece. It wasn't anything crazy.
And like the flowers I felt like were like a last minute add on, because
Yeah,
it
for
almost
sure.
looked like it felt like every time she would like move from the carpet I felt like one of the flowers about to like come out of her hair because they were so loose, they didn't look tight, and so that's what made me think that she maybe just added them on last minute, or maybe they weren't in there properly, but I was nervous that they were about to, at least one of them was going to come out. So
Yeah. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I'll be honest, I don't know like what this is called, but on with the top part of her dress, it kind of had that like 50s, like pointy, like very squared off cup in the
yes.
top.
Hmm.
And it almost reminded me, Kim wore that Marilyn Monroe dress
Hmm.
last year, and
Right.
it kind of had similar, not quite as extreme, but it had that like 50s style, like pointed or, squared off breast cup. So it was kind of, it seemed similar to that, so I thought that was an odd choice as well.
Yeah, for sure. Again, it's really interesting to see that I mean, it was, like I said, she looked pretty, but it was, again, very safe. Not really sure if it was really on theme, but, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
they'll be back. So,
Yeah.
so next is her stepsister, Kim Kardashian. This this one gets me a little heated, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts first. And she
I,
was wearing John Galliano.
I think you're going to be shocked by my reaction, but it was one of my favorite looks, top five. I thought she killed it. Let's start with the fact that I'm really happy that she didn't wear Balenciaga, because if she did wear Balenciaga, I think I would have like, I think that would have been the end of me liking her, and that would have been it. But
Yeah,
I
everyone's
really
over it.
felt, yeah, I felt like she really, really brought it. I thought it looked great. It fit her really well. Um, I am a big Nick Knight fan, who's a big photographer who shoots a lot of Lady Gaga, who I'm obsessed with. And he
Mhm.
shot all of her photos before she stepped onto the carpet. I just think it fit her great. I know there was a lot of talk about where was her waist? Where are her organs? Like, what's happening? I just thought it fit her really well. Let's not forget, Kim Kardashian is 5'2", so she's very petite. So
Mhm.
that's why I feel like she can get away with her waist looking like that. Um, she has lost a lot of weight, and she looks great. I think this is the best that she's ever looked. So I loved it. I also loved the cardigan or the sweater. I think it makes it a little bit more, because if she didn't wear that cardigan or that sweater, I think it would have been kind of boring. It kind of would have been whatever she normally would wear. So
Yeah,
I
for
was
sure.
happy that she added that little touch with her outfit.
Okay. I knew you liked it.
It was one of my favorites. I mean, and like the blonde hair, she's looks great when she's blonde. So
Oh yeah, I do love her blonde, yeah, for sure. I did not like it. I don't know. There was a lot of things about it I didn't like. I thought one, and not to say I hated it, but it wasn't my favorite. So one, it's the same silhouette we always have.
Hmm.
I think, she's done it forever and ever. She never switches up. Like I would love to see her, especially now that she's, free from Kanye. I would love her to step out and like do something crazy or experiment with something, not just like keep doing the same type of silhouette and like things that she did when she was with him, which were largely influenced by him.
Yeah.
Second, I thought I hated her hair. Like I love the color, but it was just down and kind of like wavy and like a little messy, and then there was like a small little braid at the end. I did
Yeah.
not like that. She's definitely been trying to make the like sweatpants chilling out on a Sunday hairstyles like come back, like she does a little like bun.
Yeah.
That just like was not my favorite.
Yeah, I am ready for her to work with a new team, like as like a new stylist or a new something. It's time. She needs to move on from the sweats and the Balenciaga whole situation, and really need to move forward with what's next. And I think she just needs a new stylist, honestly.
She does for sure. I would love to see her like elevate her style in a way, not elevate necessarily better, but I want to say more mature, but that's not quite what I mean. But like more elegant, mature, like
I
just
think it
really
needs,
like coming to her own.
yeah, it needs to be like an evolution. Like it needs to be like the next thing that people know her for or people that love her for. So I think she needs to make like a full circle or just, you know, execute and elevate all at the same time, really.
Yeah, for sure. And it also seemed like the sweater, I know she did it because she wants people to talk about it and
Hmm.
her. And that's
Yep.
exactly what we're doing. So,
Exactly. Yep.
kudos.
So it worked. Yep.
But it seems like an afterthought. And I say that because, not because it like didn't match or anything like that, but because she had to keep holding it and like taking it off and like redoing it. So it almost seemed like, I don't know. I saw a couple comments on Twitter or X that were saying they could almost like see some sort of like weird issue with like one of her implants or something from probably from the corset when she kind of like took it off to like retighten it and hold it. So I wonder if like that's kind of one of the reasons. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I could see that. I was also talking to a friend about it today. I was like, I feel like she maybe got her like boobs done again or something, but maybe it was just the silhouette of the dress. I also feel like I agree with you. I think the cardigan sweater was like a last minute thing. Um,
Hmm.
I think she added it and it was like a last minute where she was like, okay, I'll just wear this on top. So
Yeah. But I do agree with you. Without it, it definitely would have been boring.
yeah, I wish, now that I think about it, the more I think about it, I wish that she maybe like did like put on like some sort of like something in her hair, like a
Hmm.
headdress or like just like something that was like cool to put in her hair. I thought that would have been cool too, but then I feel like everyone would be like, "Oh, she looks like the Statue of Liberty." So I'm sure that was thought of at some point too, but I just thought it'd be different than what she normally is, and so
Yeah. Like, I mean, we've said this again, so it's like, kind of beating it a little much, but it just would have been nice to see her in something different and more elevated. I feel like she's done a lot of the same silhouettes, and it's almost like a relaxed style, not in the way that, like, I mean, she was in a corset, she couldn't breathe, but
right, yeah,
not relaxed in that way, but it was just like, it almost reminded me of that moment when she was on the carpet. I forget which one this was, but she had like the white kind of sheer-ish white dress, and it was kind of
yes,
like off the shoulder, and it was just like
mhm,
so casual and so like not for the Met. I feel
yeah,
like, and it reminded me of that in a way.
hmm,
So I kind of wish she did something different. But
yeah,
next, I want to talk about Mindy Kaling, and this I'm probably gonna butcher this name, but Gaurav Gupta
yeah,
is who she was wearing.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, she looked amazing. She's really stepped up her fashion game in the last 2, 3 years, maybe.
Mhm.
I thought she looked amazing, especially from the back. I'll show a glimpse of the back. It was just amazing. It was definitely an art piece.
Yeah, she looked great. And like what I think I want to say that was the first time we saw an Indian designer at, showing at the Met. So I thought that was great. Loved the representation and I mean, every photo I saw of hers, there was like not one bad photo because she looked
Hmm.
so good. And like you said, every photo I saw from the back was amazing. Like that's art for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It was definitely one of my favorites. Not much else to say about it.
yeah, for sure. She looked great.
So next, I want to talk about one of the guys that was there, Dan Levy. He was wearing Loewe. Loewe was a big presence, it seemed like, on the red carpet. I think even Anna Wintour herself was wearing him.
She was, yeah.
Um,
There was no Gucci, there wasn't Louis Vuitton, but Loewe
mhm.
was there for sure.
Yes. What were your thoughts on his look?
One of my favorite looks by him and one of my best male looks of the Met. I thought
Mhm.
it was very on, it was very on trend of where we are, like in that men's world. But we're also, right on trend with the theme. There was not one bad thing about it. I thought it fit him like a glove. It looked great.
Mhm.
I could see myself wear that personally, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was so amazing. I kept staring at it. It was so like something about the just amazing like artistic ability of the ombre from black into flowers into the florals was just like so hypnotizing and amazing. I
Yeah,
couldn't stop looking at it.
same. It was great, and I can't. I wish I was there to see it in person because I'm sure it would have
Mhm.
looked even more incredible in person. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I loved it. Next is another one that I've caught some positive and negative reaction on social media, and that was Gigi Hadid wearing Tom Brown. What were your thoughts on that?
I thought the hair and the makeup was on point. I thought the hair was great. I want her to go that length, like in her everyday life, and keep it that maybe like for the summer. I thought she looked great. I thought the dress was. I know later on she like took off the train, and
Hmm.
it looked better without the train in my opinion. But I know it's the Met, and you want it to, you want that train aspect of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite look by her, but I thought she looked okay. I was surprised that it was Tom Brown because Tom Brown. I mean, when you see a Tom Brown piece, so I was surprised to see that Tom Brown kind of switched it up a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't my favorite look. It wasn't bad. There was just like something missing or something off about it. I don't know if it was the construction or I didn't like the black trim around like piece
Yeah,
around the construction kind of in the train. I didn't really like that.
yeah,
Um I
I
thought it
agree.
would have felt like lighter and more kind of like spring if that had been left off.
Yeah,
Um,
I
but I
agree.
thought it was kind of fun because I actually didn't see it like super up close, but it kind of looked like lemons or like a lemon tree or something, which was
That's what
funny.
yeah, that's what I thought it was when I initially first saw it, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, and then I was like, that's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny because like for any of my Real Housewives of Beverly Hill fans, you know that Yolanda Hadid, her mother, is like obsessed with lemons and lemon trees and stuff. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yep, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess, right?
Yes, the lemon.
The
The
lemon,
lemon doesn't fall far.
right?
So next was another amazing look, and this was Tyla in Balmain. So what were your thoughts about that one?
Incredible. She
Hmm.
was wearing sand on the red carpet. I mean, do we need to even say anything else? Um, I saw a video this morning of Olivier, who's the creative for Balmain. He
Hmm.
was cutting her dress towards the end to make it shorter for the after party. Um, and he was adding more sand onto her arms because some of it had fallen off. Her body looked incredible. It was
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. This was one of those ones I saw and I was like, wait, what does sand have to do with a garden? And then, I read more into the theme and I was like, okay, this is freaking amazing. So
Mhm.
creative and ingenious. Um, it was about main look. It it reminded me of something like Kendall or Kim would have worn. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I could 1,000% see Kim wearing some sort of version of this, though I'm glad it did go to someone like Tyla, who's kind of like up and coming, and a lot of people were excited to see.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I could definitely see it on Kim for sure, just because she's worked with Balmain before. So I thought that would have been
Mhm.
interesting. But I loved it on Tyla. She looked great for that
Yeah,
body.
for sure. My
Mhm.
only like tiny critique of it, and this is like if I'm nitpicking, but I thought some parts were more full than others. Like some parts you could kind of be like, oh my gosh, is she literally wearing only sand? And then some parts kind of as it went lower, the construction not really fell apart, but it wasn't quite as fitted as it like kind of began to flare out towards the train. It almost looked like paper mache.
Yeah,
So that was kind of like my only like little critique, but I mean it was still freaking amazing.
yeah, that video has gone viral. I think at this point where like the one of the ushers at the Met Gala like picking her up and putting her on the other side,
Yeah.
um, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, for sure. That's how you know it's most likely a good Met dress if you can't walk in it.
Yeah, exactly.
So next is one of the other co-hosts, Bad Bunny. He was wearing My Son Margiela.
Not my favorite look. I think it ate him up a little bit more than
Hmm.
it needed. I thought it was too much fabric for him. From
Hmm.
what he's done in the past, I know one of my favorite looks by him is when he wore Jacquemus. I think it was the last Met Gala. Thought that was great and incredible on him. So I thought it was really interesting that he went with that um, look. Not my favorite, but it was fine.
Yeah, I thought it was fine too. It wasn't, when I first saw it, I was kind of like, oh, this is cool. And then kind of the more photos I saw and like different angles, it really wasn't my favorite. He did for the kind of floral piece and the flowers that he was carrying around and kind of like the different appliques on his outfit. It was kind of a nod to the national flower of Puerto Rico, which I thought was pretty cool and like a nice touch. He's definitely like a proud Puerto Rican and always showing off, his culture and heritage. So I do appreciate that aspect. It
Mhm.
just it didn't work for me. I think maybe it was the hat almost that like kind of pulled it down and made it too like stage costumey versus
I
like fashion.
Yeah, I agree. I just thought it was a lot of fabric on him.
Yeah, for sure. So moving on to our other co-host, Chris Hemsworth. This really disappointed me.
Same.
I mean, he looked good. He's like a good-looking guy. Obviously, he's gonna look good and whatever. He wore a cream suit. He looked like he was going to a beach wedding, and
Hmm.
he was a co-host of the event. He was the other male co-host besides Bad Bunny.
I felt like, and he was wearing Tom Ford, which I thought was really interesting because, I mean, it's Tom Ford, so it should have
Mhm.
been, it should have been the most perfect outfit, so to speak, for the Met. I was just like not impressed, very disappointed. I felt like there was more to his look, but he got hot or whatever it might have been, and he took it off. And so I feel like a tie would have helped or something. Yeah, it was just, like you said, going to a beach wedding.
Yeah, it was definitely missing that element, and I don't know, like to be honest, I don't know how he got the co-chair invite. Not, I mean, I'm obviously I don't know how that works. I'm not behind the scenes, but he hasn't had any like fashion moments that are worth mentioning, in my opinion. Like all I can recall is just like basic suits. So it's kind of an
Yeah,
interesting choice.
I do know when you're on the committee, Anna Wintour does approve your look or approves the
Mhm.
designer that you are wearing. So I don't know, maybe he like forgot to CC her on that email or whatever it would have been. But she approves a lot of the looks and a lot of the designers. Well, I was really I was interested to see how that went by and how he, just didn't look finished, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we have two more before we jump into kind of our best and worst looks of the night. So first is Ashley Graham. What did you think? I think she was the first, or maybe like one of the first three or something on the red carpet. What did you think about her look?
I thought she looked great. I know she got there pretty early. She looked amazing. I feel like she's lost some weight and she is,
Hmm.
I love the hair. I loved the makeup. She was doing all of the interviews on Vogue because that's where I was watching. And I thought she was great. I think she's great on camera and it looked great. It was very on theme. Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, I liked her look a lot, or like her dress a lot. I hated her hair so much.
You did.
I get the point of it, or like at least my interpretation was like it was kind of like this sharp bang that was kind of like jagged. It almost reminded me of like flower petals or like
Yeah.
leaves on a
Hmm.
flower or something like that. So in that sense, I get it. It wasn't working for me. It looked wet. It was just kind of like the bangs, and then the rest was just kind of like thrown up. And yeah, it just wasn't my favorite. But I did see a good like a candid photo of her, and she was like laughing or something, and she was like a little bit to the side so you couldn't see like the specific bang detail. And I thought she looked amazing in that.
Yeah.
um but I didn't love it or hate it. And she was wearing Ludovic Saint de Saint Cernin.
Hmm. Yeah. I
So
thought she was really engaged with like all the celebs that were walking and she was interviewing. I thought she was really fun to watch. So
yeah,
I love
she's
that
the
she was
best. I
there.
love her personality so
Same.
much.
Great. Yeah.
And then last but not least, before we jump into our best and worst looks of the night, is Emma Chamberlain. She was wearing Jean Paul Gaultier. I really liked this. I don't think it was like knock out of the park, best dressed of the night, but I think it was on theme. It was unique enough to kind of have some attention on it. Yeah, I liked it.
I did too. I loved it. Emma has been doing some really fun stuff lately. I really
Hmm.
feel like she's that next fashion it girl. She's been killing it. She's been going to all the shows these past couple of seasons. She went to Gucci, she went to Miu Miu, she went to Prada. So I thought it was. I think she looked great. She's doing great. I'm loving everything she's in lately.
Yeah. And I appreciated that I mean, like you said, there was a lot of black, but I appreciated the fact that she wore this like brownish copper kind of color, and it almost reminded me of like vines and twigs, and
Yeah,
with kind of like that, darker side of the garden.
yeah,
But she still made it beautiful, so I
mhm.
appreciated that aspect of
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. I thought she looked great.
Yeah. So now we are moving into best and worst dressed of the night.
Favorite part.
So I want to hear your top five best dressed, or we can go like
Okay,
one by one if you want.
cool. Let's do one by one. So
Okay.
my favorite was Jennifer Lopez and Schiaparelli. I really thought she killed it. It looked great. It's gonna be that dress that we're gonna look at like 20 years from now, and we're gonna be like, wow, she looked incredible. So she was my top favorite.
Okay, nice. My Mine aren't in like a super specific order, but
Okay.
I would say my first one probably is my best one overall, and that was Zendaya's first look, the 1999 Dior. I thought that was just perfect head to toe. I loved the really dark makeup. I saw this video actually taken at the Met, and it's actually posted on my channel, but she was kind of like walking up the steps, and it was a slow motion thing. And then she did this turn towards one of the cameras and like locked eyes, and just it was like a total moment and like really sold me.
Amazing.
So that's my number one. And what's your number two?
My number two is going to be Kendall Jenner,
Okay.
of course. She's one of my favorites. I've always loved her, and I thought that dress was made for her, and just like the history behind it. And I just thought it was chef's kiss. She looked great.
Yeah, she did. My number two is Mindy Kaling and Gaurav Gupta. I thought she looked amazing. It was a great moment for her. She got a lot of positive attention. Like you said, it was great to see some diversity in not only people on the carpet, but also designers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it was a good moment for her.
Yeah. My number three favorite is going to be Kim Kardashian. I thought she really I'm just really happy. I can't emphasize this enough. I'm really happy that she did not wear Balenciaga. And so I'm really happy. I thought she looked great. Her body is insane. I loved the cardigan sweater. I thought it was just a great touch. And I loved the fish braid also.
While we're talking about that, I meant to bring this up earlier because of the whole Taylor Swift thing.
Yes.
Do you think that was a nod, any sort of nod? Like it wasn't really shady, but do you think it was any sort of nod to Taylor Swift with her cardigan? I'm just trying to be messy.
Um, it did cross my mind, not gonna lie.
Okay.
So yes, and also she was I don't know if you noticed, but she was real close to Lana Del Rey the whole night.
She
They
was.
were talking about their sisters. They were staying at the Mark Hotel. So I thought it was really interesting that she was, very close to Lana all night long. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, don't know how Taylor's going to feel about that, but here we are.
I'm sure we'll find out at some point.
I'm sure we'll find
Um,
out. Mhm.
my number three is J Lo. I thought she looked amazing. Definitely one of her best looks. I think it was, although she's worn a lot of similar looks before, when it comes to like the nude with diamonds on it, or
Yes.
crystals, I thought it was definitely the best, if not one of the best ones. So,
Yep, definitely agree. My number four is going to be Tyla in the Balmain sand dress.
mhm.
I thought she looked great. I thought it was her first Met, and it was just really on theme. And I really thought she brought it. It was just something totally different that I've never seen before, and we've seen many many carpets. So I thought she looked great.
Yeah, for sure. She's actually my number four too. I thought she was
Amazing.
amazing.
Yeah. My number five is going to be Dan Levy in Loewe. I just thought he really, really brought it. I know a lot of the men were missing, and I really thought that he kind of picked up the slack and he looked incredible.
Yes, for sure. He's actually my number five too. I thought it was amazing. I would buy that in a heartbeat.
Same.
Um, yeah, he looked so good.
Yeah. It fit him really well and it looked great.
Did want to add an honorable mention slash number six in there, and this is Wisdom K. So he was on the red carpet. A lot of people, including myself, admittedly did not know who he was, but he's a male model. I thought he looked incredible, especially when compared to a lot of the guys on the red carpet. He had kind of like um, a red ensemble, and it
Yes.
was very like rose-esque, and it almost had like some burn marks in it. It
Mhm.
looked like. So I thought that was a really great look.
Yeah, definitely.
Now let's get to the fun part, or the shady part rather, which is your worst dressed of the night. So let me know who those are.
Yes. My worst was definitely Chris Hemsworth and Tom Ford. I big disappointment because I'm like, come on, you're on the committee. Like, what was happening?
Yep.
And you're wearing Tom Ford. How can you really go wrong in Tom Ford? So it was my worst dress for sure.
Yes, he was on my list also. Super disappointing. Like I said, like obviously he looks good. He's Chris Hemsworth. He's not gonna look bad. But for the Met Gala, especially if you're a co-chair, you're the main person. You're not there as, someone's date. You need to you need to step it up.
Yeah, for sure. I also, I know we didn't really talk about her, but Lizzo and Victor Weincenento, I think that's how you say his last name. I just thought it was a little too. It was like it was literally a costume. I felt like, and it just like did not flatter her in any sort of way. So she was another one that I was like, what are we doing? And I know she's been kind of quiet lately, so I thought this could have been like her big comeback, especially at the Met.
True.
So I thought she was another one that I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that definitely wasn't my favorite. She posted on Instagram some photos or somewhere on social media, some of her Met Gala photos, and she was, joking around and lighthearted, and she said, "If you don't like this look, you're fat phobic."
Oh
Um,
yes. Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
so I thought that was kind of funny. But also that kind of like triggered something in my brain that was like, maybe she even feels like it's not her best look ever.
Hmm.
Like there's truth in jest in a way that it didn't come off like super confident, even though obviously she was joking around.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
so second one on my list is Kylie Jenner. Hate to do it, but
Yeah.
it's a must for this. This was super disappointing. She really, in my opinion, she hasn't had many amazing Met Gala moments, and I'm kind of waiting for her like Rihanna or Blake Lively moment, which Blake Lively is another one we didn't see last
Yeah.
year or this year.
Right.
Um, but yeah, super disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. One more,
Yeah.
Barry. Um, I just thought he was, his big, he did so great in Saltburn, and I was really like, I felt like this was his year, and
Mhm.
it just really washed him up, and I thought it was a lot of fabric on him, so he's going to
Yeah.
be one of my worst dress. Yeah,
My last pick for worst dress was Jordan Roth. It was quite tragic.
it was.
Um, it looked like a cotton candy moth
Hmm.
that had been like thrown up by a bird or something after it had been eaten. It was not my favorite at all.
Yep, I agree with you.
All right, well, before we kind of start to wrap this up, is there anything else that you wanted to mention or anyone that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I just overall was like very pleased with the theme, and the Met is one of my favorite things to watch on TV, and I feel like it gets bigger and bigger every year.
Hmm.
So I was really pleased with everything. I just hope that next year we'll have more people attend.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think I agree with all of that. I think next year will be an interesting year. I feel like it's almost at that make or break moment where it could continue rising or totally like flatline in terms of such an amazing like star-studded event. I feel
Hmm.
like, between COVID and all this controversy around influencers being invited who a lot of people feel like they shouldn't have been there. Between that, we've kind of lost some stars here and there.
Yeah.
And among other reasons. But I feel like next year will be like really make or break to kind of see what they do with it.
Yeah. For sure.
And I'll be interested to see what the theme is for next year. I'm curious if you have any guesses. I would guess a possible theme could be like something about Roberto Cavalli,
Yep.
because he did pass away this year, unfortunately. I know they did something for like Karl Lagerfeld. So as designers do get older, like a lot of those classic designers, I'm not sure if it's something they're going to be like, okay, let's do this like,
Yeah.
every time a designer dies. But
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I hope they do something like that. I really enjoyed it when they did Karl Lagerfeld, um, and I
mhm,
thought that was great. And it was just, I really thought the everybody brought it that year. So I hope they do something
yeah,
around those lines. So
yeah, for sure. And he's such a great designer. I'd be so excited to see what everyone wears in that.
definitely, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to everyone who was watching. And let us know your thoughts on social media, at Front Page Pop. And also, Zebran, let them know where they can follow you.
Yeah, my Instagram is the Zebran Kabani on all platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, X, all the things. Yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
thanks. Thanks for having me, you guys.